Admiral Thaddeus Blackridge stood at the viewport of the UES Adamant, staring at the vast emptiness where the Ventrian colony had once thrived. Only debris and silence remained. His weathered face, carved by decades of service to the United Earth. Federation betrayed no emotion, but his eyes burned with quiet fury. "Play it again," he ordered, his voice low and measured. The holographic display flickered to life, projecting the image of a Kolvarian. The alien's translucent skin pulsed, with bioluminescent patterns that betrayed its agitation, despite the measured tone of its voice. "This is Archon Varax, of the Kolvarian sovereignty," the alien began. "We claim responsibility for the destruction of your colony. Consider it a demonstration of our resolve. You will withdraw all human presence from the Cygnus sector within 30 cycles, or we will destroy another settlement. Your species has encroached upon territories sacred to us for long enough." Lieutenant Commander Ilara Frost, the ship's Xeno-Intel officer, stepped forward. Her silver-grey eyes narrowed as she studied the transmission. "Analysis confirms it's authentic, Admiral. The Kolvarians have never made direct threats before. They've always operated through proxies. Because they know we don't negotiate with terrorists," Blackridge replied, his voice carrying the weight of humanity's collective determination. "Not since the Centauri crisis." Captain Orion Cavill, the Adamant's commanding officer, joined them. At the viewport, his dark skin contrasted with the stark white of his uniform. "The diplomatic corps is pushing for restraint, sir. Chancellor Nyota is convening an emergency session of the Security Council. 15,000 civilians, Orion, children, families." Blackridge turned from the viewport. "And they expect us to show restraint." Frost pulled up another holographic display showing a stellar map. "The Kolvarians have been expanding their influence for decades, but always through cultural and economic means. This represents a fundamental shift in their approach. Or it could be a splinter faction," suggested Cavill. "Their society is notoriously fragmented." "Maybe," Blackridge conceded, "but those 15,000 souls deserve the same answer regardless." The comms officer, Lieutenant Zephyr Tannhauser, interrupted. "Admiral, we're receiving a priority transmission from Earth Command." The holographic display shifted to show Chancellor Malin Nyota, her face grave but determined. "Admiral Blackridge, the Security Council has reached a decision. The Federation will not be intimidated, nor will we sacrifice our citizens to appease terrorists. You are authorized to deploy the 7th Fleet to secure all human settlements in the Cygnus sector. We will not withdraw." "And the Kolvarians?" Blackridge asked. "Find them, all of them. I want to know if this is their government or a splinter group. The diplomatic corps will make our position clear. There will be no negotiation, no compromise. And if they attack again," Chancellor Nyota's expression hardened, "then you will show them why humanity has survived every threat we've faced since leaving Earth. We've learned our lesson about appeasement." The transmission ended, leaving the command. "Crew in silence. You heard the Chancellor," Blackridge said. "Set course for the Cygnus Alpha station. We'll establish our command post there." As the Adamant's engines hummed to life, Blackridge turned to Frost. "Lieutenant Commander, I need everything you have on Kolvarian military capabilities." "They've always hidden their true strength, sir," Frost replied. "But I've been tracking anomalous energy signatures in the Coralis Nebula for months. I believe they have a hidden fleet there." "Then that's where we'll start," Blackridge said. "Humanity didn't fight its way to the stars to be pushed back by threats. The stars blurred as the Adamant jumped to FTL, carrying humanity's answer to the Kolvarian ultimatum, no compromise. The Coralis Nebula glowed like a bruise against the black canvas of space, its purple and blue gases swirling in hypnotic patterns. Hidden within its luminous clouds, the UES Adamant moved with deliberate stealth sensors at maximum sensitivity. "We're detecting unusual energy signatures approximately 2 light minutes from our position," reported Lieutenant Tannhauser from his station. Pattern matches Kolvarian gravitic drives. Captain Cavill leaned forward in his command chair. Numbers? At least 20 vessels, Tannhauser replied, possibly more deeper in the nebula. Blackridge studied the tactical display. Consistent with the staging area for their operations. Ilara, what's your assessment? Lieutenant Commander Frost's fingers danced across her console. The configuration suggests a rapid deployment force, not a defensive posture. They're preparing for additional strikes, which means we don't have much time, Blackridge concluded. Orion, how quickly can we get reinforcements here? The 7th Fleet is dispersed across 3 systems, 18 hours minimum to assemble a battle group. Blackridge nodded. Too long. We need to delay them. He turned to Frost. What do we know about Kolvarian command structures? They're hierarchical but distributed, Frost explained. Each vessel has autonomy, but they won't act without authorization from an Archon like Varax. So we find Varax, Blackridge said. If we can capture him, we disrupt their chain of command. Cavill looked skeptical. Sir, with respect, we don't know which ship is his, and we're outnumbered. Blackridge's lips curved into a slight smile. We don't need to outgun them, just outthink them. He turned to his communications officer. Open a channel, broadcast in all directions, maximum power. That will reveal our position, sir, Tannhauser warned. That's the idea, Blackridge replied. Let them know we found them. The channel opened with a soft chime. This is Admiral Thaddeus Blackridge of the United Earth Federation. I address Archon Varax of the Kolvarian Sovereignty. We have located your fleet and tracked your movements. The destruction of Ventrian colony has been classified as an act of war by the Security Council. However, we are prepared to offer one opportunity for dialogue before we respond with full military force. You have 5 minutes to reply. The bridge fell silent as the message was transmitted. 4 minutes and 37 seconds later, a response came. The holographic display flickered, and Archon Varax appeared. Behind him, other Kolvarians moved with purpose on what appeared to be a command deck. Admiral Blackridge, Varax's voice was smooth, almost melodic. Your presence here is unexpected. Perhaps humans are more resourceful than our intelligence suggested. We're full of surprises, Blackridge replied dryly. I'm here to determine whether your actions represent your government or a splinter faction. There is no distinction, Varax said. The sovereignty speaks with one voice on this matter. The Cygnus sector contains artifacts sacred to our species. Your colonies desecrate them. You made no such claims during our settlement process. Cavill interjected. Your representatives approved our presence. Lesser minds made lesser decisions. Varax dismissed the point with a wave. The conclave has spoken. You will withdraw. And if we refuse? Blackridge asked. Then more will die, Varax replied simply. Perhaps you should ask yourself how many human lives your pride is worth, Admiral. Blackridge leaned forward. Let me be perfectly clear, Archon. Humanity does not respond to threats. We do not abandon our people, and we do not compromise with terrorists. Then you have chosen extinction, Varax said. No, Blackridge countered. I've chosen to give you one chance to stand down before the full might of the Federation falls upon you. Empty words from a single ship, Varax scoffed. Look to your senses, Archon, Blackridge said, and understand that unlike you, I don't bluff. The transmission ended, and Blackridge nodded to Cavill. Now, Captain, deploy the Phantoms. Outside the Adamant, small compartments opened. Dozens of stealth drones, each carrying a high-yield antimatter warhead, silently deployed into the nebula, their signatures masked by the surrounding radiation. The Phantoms will be in position in 3 minutes, Tannhauser reported. The Kolvarians are moving their fleet, attempting to surround us. Let them, Blackridge said calmly. We just needed to keep them occupied long enough. On the tactical, Display, new signatures appeared at the edge of the nebula, the advance elements of the Seventh Fleet, arriving hours ahead of schedule. How? Cavill began. I had them moving before we left Earth space, Blackridge explained. Never tell an enemy your true timeline. The Colvarian fleet scattered like startled birds as the first wave of Federation ships dropped out of FTL at the nebula's edge. The UES Adamant surged forward, no longer hiding its presence. The Phantoms are in position, Lieutenant Tannhauser announced. Awaiting your command, Admiral. Admiral Blackridge studied the tactical display where dozens of red dots represented the Colvarian vessels. Hold for my signal. I want them to see our full strength first. Captain Cavill directed the battle group's deployment with practiced efficiency. Battle Group Epsilon is moving to secure the inner nebula. Theta Group is establishing a containment perimeter. Sir, Frost interjected, I'm detecting unusual energy readings from 3 of the Colvarian vessels. They're powering weapons, systems unlike anything we've encountered before. As if on cue, brilliant green beams lanced out from the 3 vessels, striking one of the Federation destroyers. The energy seemed to flow across the ship's hull like liquid, bypassing shields completely. Shields had no effect, Tannhauser reported, his voice tense. The UES Dauntless reports multiple hull breaches and power fluctuations. Order them to withdraw, Blackridge commanded. All ships maintain distance and analyze those weapon signatures. Lieutenant Commander Frost bent over her console, fingers flying across the interface. It's some form of phase-shifted plasma. It's designed to interact directly with matter, regardless of energy barriers. Can we counter it? Not immediately, Frost admitted, but their ships show significant power drain after firing. They can't sustain continuous fire. Blackridge nodded. Exploit the gap. Target their weapon systems during recharge cycles. The Federation ships adjusted their tactics, darting in to unleash precision strikes during the Colvarian recharge windows, then retreating before they could be targeted. Admiral, Tannhauser called, we're receiving a transmission from Archon, Varax. The holographic display flickered to life once more, showing the Colvarian leader. Unlike before, Varax appeared agitated, his bioluminescent patterns pulsing rapidly. Admiral Blackridge, he said, you demonstrate admirable resolve, but this is merely the first exchange. We have vessels throughout human space, each positioned near one of your colonies. Unless you withdraw from this nebula immediately, we will destroy them all simultaneously. Blackridge's expression remained impassive. Transmit your ultimatum to Earth. I'm a military officer, not a diplomat. Don't pretend you lack authority, Varax snapped. Your Chancellor has given you full discretion in this matter. Then here's my decision, Blackridge replied. Surrender your fleet and face trial for the murder of 15,000 civilians, or we will disable your vessels and capture you by force. Varax's luminescence brightened in what might have been anger. You mistake our restraint for weakness. The weapons we've displayed are merely preliminary. We have developed technologies specifically to counter human defenses. Battlefield boasts, Blackridge dismissed. If you had such weapons, you would have used them already. Observe, Varax said simply. One of the Colvarian vessels broke. Formation, accelerating toward a small moon at the nebula's edge. A different energy signature built up, one that caused all instruments on the Adamant to fluctuate wildly. What are they? Cavill began. The Colvarian ship released a pulse of energy that enveloped the moon. For a moment nothing seemed to happen. Then the moon's surface began to ripple as if suddenly liquid. In seconds, the entire satellite collapsed. In on itself, condensing into a sphere a fraction of its original size. Gravitational compression, Frost whispered. They've weaponized artificial gravity fields. Can they use it against our ships? Blackridge asked sharply. Theoretically, yes, Frost replied, but the energy requirements must be enormous. Blackridge turned back to the hologram. Impressive demonstration, Archon. But this changes nothing. Destroying natural resources doesn't intimidate us. It only confirms what we already knew. You're willing to destroy rather than negotiate in good faith. This is your final warning, Varix insisted. Withdraw or face extinction. No, Blackridge said simply. Humanity doesn't compromise with terrorists. We've tried that path before, and it only leads to more death. He leaned forward. Now here's my counteroffer. Stand down your fleet, or I activate the Phantoms. Phantoms. Varax's confusion was evident. 36 stealth platforms, each carrying enough antimatter to vaporize a capital ship, now positioned throughout your fleet. Blackridge explained. You have 2 minutes to begin powering down your weapons systems. The transmission cut abruptly. Do you think they'll comply? Cavill asked. No, Blackridge replied, but we needed to buy time. He turned to Frost. Have you isolated their command frequencies? A smile spread across Frost's face. Yes, sir. Project Babel is ready. Execute, Blackridge ordered. Frost activated. A series of commands, and throughout the Colvarian fleet, communication systems began to fail as the Federation's cyber warfare suite infiltrated their networks. Divide and conquer, Blackridge murmured, the oldest strategy in the book. The battle transformed as Project Babel took effect. The once coordinated Colvarian fleet fractured into isolated units, each vessel suddenly cut off from central command. Some continued to fight while others hesitated, unsure of their objectives without guidance. Babel is working, Frost reported, monitoring the chaos spreading through enemy ranks. Their communication encryption is completely compromised. We're feeding false orders to approximately 40% of their fleet. Admiral Blackridge nodded. Direct them away from the main battle group. The less bloodshed, the better. Captain Cavill raised an eyebrow. Sir, this isn't about vengeance, Orion, Blackridge explained. It's about neutralizing a threat. If we can do that without destroying their entire fleet, all the better for future relations. Sir, Tannhauser interrupted, we've detected a Colvarian vessel attempting to break through our perimeter. Energy signature suggests it's Varax's flagship. Targeting now, Cavill said. No, Blackridge countermanded. Let him think he's escaping. Lieutenant Commander Frost is the Spectre. Ready? Yes, Admiral. Operative Talon is aboard and awaiting your signal. Give the order, Blackridge said. The Spectre is to shadow Varax's vessel, but not engage until authorized. The UES Spectre, a stealth infiltration vessel like no other in the Federation fleet, detached from its hiding place on the Adamant's hull. In the chaos of battle, its departure went unnoticed as it slipped into the nebula's gases, tracking Varax's fleeing ship. Aboard the Spectre, Operative Lysandra Talon prepared her team. Unlike the uniformed military personnel of the Adamant, the Talon and her team wore form-fitting black suits with minimal insignia. They were Void Wraiths, the Federation's elite special operations unit, deployed only in the most critical missions. Target is maintaining course, reported her pilot, Operative Draven. They seem to be heading for the nebula's outer boundary. They're running, Talon observed, her voice calm despite the tension. They didn't expect resistance of this magnitude. Or they're regrouping for another strike, suggested Operative Caney, the team's weapons specialist. Those gravity weapons were no joke. Which is exactly why we can't let them escape, Talon replied. Draven, how long until we're in range? For boarding, 3 minutes if they maintain current speed. Talon nodded and turned to her team of 6. Our objective is clear. Capture Archon Varax alive if possible. Admiral Blackridge wants him to stand trial for Ventrian colony. Secondary objective is securing any data on their weapons technology. What about the rest of the crew? Asked Operative Vex, the team medic. Minimize casualties, but we complete the mission at all costs, Talon replied. These are the beings who murdered 15,000 civilians without warning. The Spectre closed the distance with silent efficiency, matching velocity with Varex's ship. When they were within range, Talon gave the order. "Breach point identified," Draven reported. "Their shield configuration has gaps near the aft sensor array." "Perfect," Talon said. "Prepare breach charges. Caney, you'll take point." The team moved to the airlock, checking their gear one last time. Unlike the bulky spacesuits used by regular troops, their infiltration suits were thin and flexible, offering protection while maintaining mobility. "In position," Draven confirmed. "Preparing to dock now." The Spectre's specialized docking tube extended, attaching to the Colvarian vessel's hull. Caney placed the breaching charges with practiced precision. Moments later, they detonated with a controlled blast that cut through the alien ship's hull. "Go, go, go!" Talon ordered. The team surged through the breach, weapons ready. They encountered minimal resistance at first. The Colvarians hadn't detected their approach. "Life signs indicate 23 crew members," Operative Lind reported. Checking her scanner, command deck is 2 levels up. The first Colvarian security team rounded a corner, their translucent skin flashing warning patterns. Before they could raise weapons, Talon's team fired, using specialized non-lethal rounds that disrupted the aliens' neural patterns. "Command deck," Talon said. "Move." They fought their way upward, encountering increasingly organized resistance. The Colvarians were formidable opponents, faster than humans and possessing natural bioluminescent abilities that allowed them to communicate silently. Despite this, the Void Wraiths pushed forward, their training and technology giving them the edge in the close quarters of the ship. Finally, they reached the command deck doors. Sealed from within, they would require more than brute force to breach. "Lind, bypass protocol," Talon ordered. The tech specialist attached a device to the door's control panel. "Their systems are unlike anything we've encountered before, but the principles are similar. Give me 30 seconds. 27 seconds later, the doors slid open and the team swept in with practiced precision. Inside, Archon Varric stood surrounded by his command staff, his bioluminescent patterns pulsing rapidly in what might have been alarm or anger. "Archon Varric," Talon announced, "by the authority of the United Earth Federation, you are under arrest for the mass murder of 15,000 civilians at Ventrian Colony." Surrounded by Void Wraiths, Archon Varric maintained his composure. Though his inner luminescence betrayed his agitation, his command staff had been efficiently disarmed and secured, their attempts at resistance neutralized without casualties. "This unauthorized boarding action constitutes an act of war," Varric declared, his voice melodious despite the circumstances. "The sovereignty will not tolerate such aggression." Lysandra Talon holstered her weapon, approaching the Archon with measured steps. "The sovereignty initiated hostilities with the destruction of Ventrian Colony. We're merely responding in kind, though with considerably more restraint." "You know nothing of restraint," Varric countered. "Had we wished to demonstrate our full capabilities, we would have reduced your colony to its component atoms, not merely destroyed it." An uncomfortable silence fell across the command deck. Operative Caney tensed, his hand drifting toward his weapon. "You admit to the attack, then?" Talon asked, her voice deceptively calm. "I orchestrated it personally," Varric replied, luminescent patterns shifting to what might have been pride. "The decision was unanimous among the conclave. Your species must learn its place in the greater order." Talon tapped her communications implant. "Admiral Blackridge, are you receiving this?" "Every word, Operative Talon," the Admiral's voice replied through her earpiece. "Secure the Archon and prepare for extraction. The Spectre will rendezvous with the Adamant once you're clear." "Understood," Talon acknowledged before turning back to Varric. "You're being taken into Federation custody. You will stand trial for your actions." Varric's skin pulsed with what appeared to be amusement. "Your legal proceedings are meaningless." This conflict has only begun. Operative Lind approached Talon. Commander, I've accessed their system core. They have detailed files on all human colonies in the sector, defense capabilities, population centers, strategic resources. Target assessments, Talon translated. Grimly, yes, and there's more. Lind's expression grew troubled. They have ships positioned near 6 major colonies. Each vessel appears to be carrying a gravitational compression device similar to what they used on the moon. Download everything, Talon ordered. We need to know exactly what we're facing. As Lind worked, Varex's luminescence shifted to a pattern they hadn't seen before. You believe capturing me will end this conflict? I am but one voice in the conclave. Others will continue our sacred mission. Perhaps, Talon conceded, but you're the only one who attacked Ventrian. And you're the only one who can call off the ships threatening our other colonies. I will do no such thing, Varex stated firmly. Talon stepped closer, her voice dropping. Then you condemn thousands more to death, including your own people. Admiral Blackridge has positioned antimatter warheads throughout your fleet. This can end now without further bloodshed, if you give the order to stand down. For the first time, uncertainty flickered in Varex's luminescence. You would not destroy your own people alongside ours. We evacuated our colonies the moment. We received your ultimatum, Talon bluffed smoothly. Your intelligence is outdated, Archon. Operative Vex approached, keeping his voice low. Commander, we need to move. Their security protocols are cycling. They'll detect the Spectre soon. Talon nodded. Secure the prisoners. We're leaving. As they prepared to extract, the ship suddenly shuddered violently. Alarms blared across the command deck. What was that? Caney demanded. Lind checked her scanner. Multiple Colvarian vessels have broken through the Federation perimeter. They're coming for the Archon. Talon cursed under her breath. Draven, status on the Spectre. Ready for immediate extraction, came the response. But we've got company, detecting multiple boarding. Craft approaching the target vessel. Talon made a split-second decision. Change of plans. Caney, Vex, get the Archon to the Spectre. Lind, finish that download. The rest of you, prepare defensive positions. We're about to have visitors. They moved with practiced efficiency, securing. Varex in mobility restraints designed to counteract the Colvarian's natural flexibility. The Archon watched with calculating eyes. Your capture will change nothing, he said. The Conclave will perceive it as further evidence that humans respond only to force. You gave us no choice, Talon replied, checking her weapon. You could have opened diplomatic channels if you truly wanted to discuss territorial claims. Diplomacy failed decades ago, Varex said, his tone shifting to something resembling weariness. Your species pushes ever outward, claiming worlds, harvesting resources, ignoring the deeper patterns of the universe. What are you talking about? Talon demanded. The relics in the Cygnus sector. They are not merely sacred to us. They are vital to the stability of this region of space, Varex explained. Your mining operations disrupt fields that have existed for millions of years, maintained by those who came before. Lind looked up from her work. Commander, these files, they contain detailed analyses of subspace fractures throughout the sector. According to their models, continued disruption could lead to catastrophic spatial collapse. Convenient justification for territorial aggression, Talon said skeptically. Believe what you will, Varex replied. But ask yourself why a species that has coexisted peacefully with yours for generations would suddenly risk war. Before Talon could respond, the ship shuddered again, more violently this time. We've been boarded, Caney reported. Multiple breaches. In the lower decks. Move now, Talon ordered. Get the Archon to the Spectre. As they hustled Varex toward their extraction point, Talon couldn't shake the feeling that they were missing something crucial, that beneath the conflict lay a truth that neither side fully understood. Admiral Blackridge stood rigid as the Spectre, docked with the adamant, his hands clasped behind his back. The battle in the nebula had reached a stalemate. The Kolvarian fleet had ceased offensive operations once word spread of Varax's capture, but they maintained combat positions, unwilling to withdraw. "The Spectre has successfully docked," Lieutenant Tannhauser reported. "Operative Talon reports one casualty during extraction. Operative Lind took plasma fire covering their retreat." Blackridge's expression remained stoic, but his eyes betrayed his concern. "Is she stable?" "Yes, sir. She's in medical now. The mission data was successfully recovered." Captain Cavill approached, his uniform showing signs of the prolonged engagement. "Sir, Chancellor Nyota is demanding an update. The diplomatic corps is in an uproar over the capture of a sovereign leader." "Sovereign leader who committed mass murder," Blackridge corrected. "Tell the Chancellor I'll report as soon as I've interrogated the prisoner." "With respect, sir," Cavill said carefully, "protocol dictates that prisoners of this caliber be returned to Earth for formal processing." "Protocol also dictates that imminent threats to Federation security be addressed immediately," Blackridge countered. "If what Operative Talon reported is accurate, we need answers now, not after weeks of diplomatic wrangling." The lift doors opened and Talon entered the bridge, still in her infiltration suit. She looked exhausted but focused. "Admiral," she acknowledged with a crisp nod. "Archon Varax is secured in the detention center. My team is analyzing the data we recovered from his vessel." "Walk with me," Blackridge ordered, moving toward his ready room. Once inside, with the door sealed, he turned to her. "What did you find?" "It's complicated, sir," Talon admitted. "The Kolvarians have been monitoring subspace distortions throughout the Cygnus sector for decades. According to their data, our mining operations are exacerbating natural fractures in the fabric of space-time." "Mining operations?" Blackridge frowned. "We're primarily focused on colony development, not resource extraction." "Not officially, perhaps," Talon said carefully, "but the files indicate unusual activity around certain Federation outposts, consistent with quantum resonance mining." Blackridge's expression darkened. "Black Ops, unauthorized resource extraction outside Federation oversight." "It appears so," Talon confirmed, "and according to Kolvarian science, it's destabilizing something they call the anchor points, ancient technological constructs that maintain spatial integrity in regions weakened by primordial events." "These would be the sacred relics Varax mentioned?" "Yes, sir. Their religion and science are intertwined. The ancients who built these devices are revered as gods, but the technology itself is very real and measurable." Blackridge paced the small room. "Why attack a civilian colony? Why not approach us diplomatically with this evidence?" "Varax claims they tried, sir, multiple times over the past decade. Their diplomats were rebuffed or their concerns dismissed as religious superstition." "Damn it," Blackridge muttered. "Is there any way to verify their claims? Lieutenant Commander Frost is reviewing the data now, comparing it with our own long-range sensor logs. She should have preliminary findings within the hour." Blackridge nodded. "Good. I want to speak with Varax." In the detention center, Archon Varax sat motionless in a specially designed cell that accommodated his unique physiology. His luminescence had dimmed to a soft glow, pulsing slowly. "Admiral Blackridge," he acknowledged as they entered. "Have you come to extract a confession, or perhaps to negotiate?" "I've come for the truth," Blackridge replied simply. "Operative, Talon shared your claims about the anchor points and spatial instability. I want to hear it directly from you." Varax studied him for a long moment. "You truly don't know, do you? Your own government has kept you in the dark." "Explain," Blackridge demanded. "The organization you call Section 31, Varax began, has been conducting illegal quantum resonance mining throughout the Cygnus sector for 15 years. They extract a substance your scientists call stellar condensate, a byproduct of supernova remnants that can be weaponized or used as an energy." "Source!" Blackridge's face remained impassive, but his mind raced. Section 31, the Federation's Black Ops Division, officially disavowed, but rumored to operate with implicit sanction from certain elements within the government. The mining process, Varix continued, creates quantum fractures that spread like cracks in ice. The ancients foresaw this possibility and created the anchor points to maintain stability. But even these marvels of engineering have their limits. And Ventrian colony, Blackridge asked, why target civilians? Because it was built directly atop one of the most critical anchor points, Varix replied. The colonists were using its energy output, believing it to be a natural phenomenon. Every day they further destabilized the node. So you murdered them to protect a device. Blackridge's voice was dangerously quiet. To prevent the deaths of billions, Varix corrected. If that anchor point fails, the cascade effect will consume half the sector, including 3 of your major colonies and 4 of our worlds. Before Blackridge could respond, Lieutenant Commander Frost's voice came over the comm. Admiral, I need you on the bridge immediately. We've confirmed the Colvarian data. Minutes later, Blackridge stared at the holographic display, where a complex web of fracture lines spread across the Cygnus sector. The patterns match perfectly, Frost explained. Our long-range sensors detected these anomalies, but they were classified as natural phenomena. The Colvarian models predict catastrophic failure within 6 months if the degradation continues. And Section 31's involvement? Blackridge asked. Confirmed, sir, Frost said grimly. I cross-referenced the mining signatures with classified reports I accessed during my stint in intelligence. Section 31 has been operating a shadow mining program called Project Prometheus for over a decade. Blackridge turned to Captain Cavill. Open a channel to Chancellor Nyota, highest encryption. When the Chancellor's image appeared, her expression was guarded. Admiral Blackridge, I understand you've taken a high-value prisoner. Chancellor, are you aware of Project Prometheus? Blackridge asked without preamble. Nyota's face remained carefully neutral. That's a classified matter, Admiral. Then you are aware, Blackridge concluded. Were you also aware that it's destabilizing the fabric of space-time and could destroy half the sector within 6 months? Nyota's composure cracked slightly. Those are unsubstantiated theories proposed by Colvarian religious extremists. No, Chancellor, Blackridge replied evenly. They're scientific facts confirmed by our own sensor data. The Colvarians attacked Ventrian because it was built on technology that's preventing a catastrophic spatial collapse. Technology our people were inadvertently damaging. What are you suggesting, Admiral? Nyota asked, her voice cold. I'm suggesting that we've been on the wrong side of this conflict, Blackridge said, and I'm formally requesting authorization to negotiate a ceasefire with the Colvarian fleet, followed by a joint scientific mission to address the spatial instability. Out of the question, Chancellor Nyota snapped. You're overstepping your authority, Admiral. Return to Earth immediately with the prisoner. That's an order. Blackridge's jaw tightened. With respect, Chancellor, I cannot comply. Not when billions of lives are at stake, human and Colvarian alike. This is dangerously close to insubordination, Admiral, Nyota warned. This is dangerously close to the truth, Blackridge countered. I'm invoking Emergency Protocol Omega-7. The bridge fell silent. Protocol Omega-7 was rarely invoked. It granted fleet commanders autonomous authority when they believed Federation leadership was compromised, or acting against the greater interests of humanity. Nyota's face hardened. You have no grounds. I have sensor data, Chancellor. I have confirmation of illegal black operations, and I have 15,000 dead civilians whose blood is on our hands as much as the Colvarians. Blackridge's voice was steel. I will not bring us to the brink of extinction because of political convenience. The Federation Security Council will not recognize your authority under these circumstances, Nyota warned. Then they can court-martial me when this is over, Blackridge replied. Adamant out. The transmission ended. Captain Cavill stepped forward, his expression grave. Orders, sir? Blackridge looked around the bridge at his crew. I won't order any of you to follow me down this path. If you believe I'm acting outside my authority, now is the time to say so. No one moved. Very well, Blackridge said. Prepare a secure conference room. We're going to negotiate with Archon Varax and the Kolvarian fleet commanders. 3 hours later, Blackridge sat across from Varax and 3 Kolvarian ship commanders who had been granted safe passage to the Adamant. Lieutenant Commander Frost and Operative Talon flanked the Admiral, while Captain Cavill monitored the proceedings from the bridge. Let me be clear, Blackridge began. I do not condone your attack on Ventrian colony. 15,000 innocent people died because you chose violence over continued diplomatic efforts. We made 17 formal requests for investigation over 3 years, the eldest Kolvarian commander, Nix Talon, replied. Your diplomats dismissed each one as religious hysteria. That doesn't justify mass murder, Talon countered. No, Varax acknowledged, his luminescence subdued. It does not. But faced with the extinction of billions, we calculated that 15,000 lives now might save countless more. Cold calculus, Blackridge observed. The same calculus your Section 31 made when they continued mining operations despite early warning signs, Varax replied. Blackridge couldn't refute that. The past cannot be changed. I'm interested in the future, specifically how we prevent spatial collapse and avoid further bloodshed. Frost activated a holographic display showing the fracture network. According to our analysis of your data, there are 7 critical anchor points that must be stabilized immediately. 8, corrected Nix Talon. The 8th was beneath Ventrian colony. It is now dormant following the colony's destruction. Can it be reactivated? Blackridge asked. Potentially, Varax replied, but it would require technology we no longer possess. The ancients' knowledge has been lost to time. Not entirely lost, Frost interjected. The Kolvarian data includes partial schematics. With our quantum engineering capabilities and their historical records, we might be able to reconstruct the necessary components. A joint mission, Blackridge mused. Humanity's technical innovation combined with Kolvarian ancestral knowledge. You propose cooperation after we have attacked your people. Nix Talon seemed skeptical. I propose survival, Blackridge corrected, for both our species. And your government? Varax asked. Will they sanction this partnership when they have explicitly ordered you to stand down? They will, when presented with irrefutable evidence, Blackridge said. Not all of our leaders are aware of Section 31's activities. Many will be horrified to learn the truth. The meeting continued for hours, hammering out details of a temporary ceasefire and joint scientific initiative. When they finally emerged, a tentative agreement had been reached. On the bridge, Captain Cavill approached Blackridge. Sir, we're receiving multiple transmissions from Earth. The Security Council is convening an emergency session to address your actions. Let them convene, Blackridge replied. We have work to do. The Federation vessels on the perimeter are requesting instructions, Tannhauser reported. Some are confused by the presence of Kolvarian ships docking with the Adamant. Send a general broadcast, Blackridge ordered. Inform all ships that we have established a temporary ceasefire with the Kolvarian fleet to address a mutual threat. Full briefing to follow. As the orders went out, Blackridge turned to Frost. What's our timeline? Based on current degradation rates, we have approximately 4 months before the first critical fracture point fails, she replied. But that assumes no further mining activity. Contact Section 31's known facilities, Blackridge instructed. Inform them that their operations have been compromised and are creating an extinction-level threat. Use my authorization codes. They'll deny everything, Talon warned. Let them, Blackridge said. Then inform them that we're releasing all evidence to every Federation world simultaneously. Sometimes the best disinfectant is sunlight. As the Adamant became the unlikely center of a joint human-Colvarian scientific mission, Blackridge knew his career was probably over. But as he watched former enemies working side by side to prevent catastrophe, he considered it a small price to pay. The next day, as predicted, Federation security vessels arrived with orders for Blackridge's arrest. But they found themselves surrounded not only by loyal Federation ships, but by Colvarian vessels as well. "This is Admiral Thaddeus Blackridge of the UES Adamant," he transmitted as the security ships approached. "I understand you have orders to relieve me of command and arrest me for insubordination." "That is correct, Admiral," came the reply. "Surrender your vessel immediately." "Before you attempt to enforce those orders," Blackridge continued, "I'm transmitting a data package to your ships. It contains comprehensive evidence of illegal operations conducted by Section 31, verification of spatial instability threatening multiple populated systems, and the terms of a ceasefire agreement with the Colvarian sovereignty." There was a long pause as the security fleet presumably reviewed the information. "Additionally," Blackridge added, "this information has been transmitted to every major news outlet in Federation space. The time for shadows and secrets is over." Hours later, the security fleet withdrew, their commanders unwilling to arrest the man who was rapidly being hailed as a hero across human space as the truth emerged. Standing on the bridge of the Adamant, Blackridge watched as human and Colvarian scientists prepared for their first mission to a damaged anchor point. "You risked everything," Talon observed, standing beside him. "Your career, your freedom." "Some principles are worth the risk," Blackridge replied. "Humanity has survived this long not by compromising with terrorists, but by recognizing when we've made a mistake and having the courage to correct it." "What happens when this is over?" Talon asked. "The Federation won't forget your defiance." Blackridge smiled slightly. "Perhaps not. But they'll remember that humanity's greatest strength isn't our technology or our military might. It's our capacity to admit when we're wrong and work toward a better future." On the main view screen, a joint fleet of human and Colvarian vessels moved into position around the first anchor point, beginning the long process of healing the wounds their conflict had created. "A new chapter begins," Blackridge said softly. "One where we recognize that standing firm against terrorism doesn't mean being blind to truth." As the Adamant joined the fleet, Admiral Blackridge issued one final order. "All ships commence operation. Restoration. Together we save our future." And across the stars, a new message spread. Humanity would not compromise with terrorists, but neither would they allow pride to prevent peace when justice and truth aligned.